Hello and welcome to the New World Review, where Killua is going through some things, or coming out of some things, or things are coming out of him. I don't know how to explain it so that it doesn't sound like he's growing an extra limb or tentacles. Hello and welcome to the New World Review, where Gon is on a date with Parm. His last happy experience, because after this he'll turn into a bundle of rage like a screaming toddler jumping up and down and throwing fireballs here, there and everywhere. Who knows? Find out as we delve into episodes 94 and 95. Episode 94, and it's Gon's last date with Parm because, well, he was a nice guy. It's not often I invoke the phrase nice guy because it's a very dangerous one, especially applied to psychopaths, which really tells you everything you need to know about it. Gon was a nice guy in this episode. He took Parm on his mandated girl date while Killua was also there, wishing it was a mandated man date, I guess. And we had a lot of cutscenes back and forth watching Killua get smacked around by Rammot, the silly bunny bird boy who thought Killua was actually genuinely afraid of him and was dealing very strongly with his own mind. Or the threads within his own mind. Perhaps it was his brother needling him all along that was the true friend we made along the way. His constant companion, his brother's needle, which was in his brain. What on earth is this family? And why did he just laugh in that... Silly Illumi, you played a trick on me, silly. If my sister did something like this to me, either I'd never speak to her again or I would hunt her down and destroy something important to her. Not a person, an item, like how she broke my violin and told me on my wedding day so I couldn't attack her. I never forget. I just store it up. Is Killua going to store this rage and explode it all over Illumi? Because I feel like that would be really quite important to know. What's also important is the shift that happened in the relationship once he'd removed that crucial thing keeping him safe, sort of safe. The biggest thing I noticed in this episode once the needle was gone was that he seemed slightly more aloof with Gon. Not in an unhealthy way either. In the way that says to me, yeah, you're my friend and I'll protect you, but that's where it ends because I'm also an assassin and some of your kid crap's beneath me. That energy. In a very real way, being freed of the fear of getting hurt and the effect of running from everything announced the fact that Killua was using Gon to run away from the danger in other environments too. Being able to hide behind Gon as a leader has been a very good way for him to quietly watch what's happening and learn the abilities of others around him while he does it. It's probably even why we've had all this hardcore discussion from Killua while Gon does stuff. And I guess that's the confusing point now, because most of what we know of Killua is from after the original Hunter exam arc. We don't actually know Killua, not the real one. So now we get to meet that character and see what we think of him, but only for as long as he wants to be observed. The jump from Killua's mind to Rammot's mind, signaling the shift in power and scene dynamic, was huge and very satisfying. Killua is now free of Illumi, Gon, and Rammot, and they all noticed it immediately. Rammot going from being all-powerful to realizing he was not, in fact, controlling the situation at all was very smooth. It's a fitting end to our bunny bird brain, really. He was our clarion call that Nen could jump species, and that clarion call has been ended. Cut short. The first falls. Does this mean the others will? Maybe. But for right now, we're still with Gon and Parm because we smash cut our way through that episode. As Killua tried to use his mind and connect with his emotions enough to deal with what was happening, Gon took Parm on a pretty solid date and offered her things that would make her feel safe and comfortable, and it seemed to be something he actually enjoyed as well. But then he tried to be nice and let her down easy and say, hey, so there's this thing I need to do, but then afterwards I'm totally down for dating forever and maybe getting married and having some babies. I mean, he didn't get that far. That's creepy. And he's 8 and she's 22. And I mean, he's not 8, but really still. Anyway, Parm, that face she gave at the end of Act 1 made me realize that it had been too much nice, too much comfortable and kind. And of course, Killua was almost ready to move on to the next part of his narrative. So it was important that we make the 22-year-old aware of what was going on. I've hashed and rehashed the femme tropes of this show, and it's very obvious that Parm has a similar meme status as the stalker girl meme. All I want to say is that she could have done so much better, and she's worth someone legal and who has the time and space to care for her. Needing to take revenge on a kid for being flighty and Gon-shaped is a waste of energy, and her blood is apparently important, so stop raising the blood pressure of, oh no. Parm, you have so much to give. Primarily knives. With Cheeto's turn coming up, let's head into episode 95 to see whether he outruns them or has to outfight them, and whether he can do either, given punchy insurance interest man. Episode 95, and I think Cheeto will actually go down pretty easy, as long as they deal with him fast enough. Meanwhile, we skip to the main event, because that's not the main event. Sorry, Cheeto. Kite and Gon. Kite has been found and he has been scarred and destroyed. Gon could see that pretty quickly. In this episode, we've got a very rare insight into Gon's head with some soft line drawing. Oh. Gon allowed Kite to hit him as punishment, I guess. I've been finding it difficult to emotionally connect with this arc, despite all the heartache that's been going on, and I think there are probably several reasons for this, but I'm kind of sad about it as well. That said, if I'm not crying now, it's possible I'm not supposed to. It's entirely likely that we're still setting up this arc, because I feel like we're not at the point yet where we know all the characters and all the players and how things work. Something Togashi really likes to do is feint and hit us from another angle, but like Gon, he's consistently inconsistent. If I'm not crying now, it's probably because he came up with something even more heartbreaking than watching Gon allow Kite to beat him to a pulp. In fact, help him beat Gon to a pulp. That we skipped from watching Gon getting a beatdown to finding out that he was trying to help the beatdown happen pulled me immediately out of the emotionality of the first part of that scene, and I feel like the intention might have been to push me in, but it definitely did not. The soundtrack deserves particular attention in this episode because it gives us a really good expressive linking point to respond to, and as soon as I realized the extent to which the acoustics of the room had been heightened and the sound of drops that had been accentuated before the strings came into play, I turned the sound up more than it was up already to try to catch that detail. Because who doesn't love a good minor key in acoustic sound? Even if I didn't catch the emotionality, even if I wasn't crying, even if nothing else happened, just the beauty of it was phenomenal. And that was a point I appreciated this episode. The frames were all individually captivating. The darkness and the looming puppet master that makes me think that once they've defeated Kitty Pitou, Kite will simply fall apart. They're both thoughts that run through my mind and sort of have since the first time we saw Kite being played with. That darkness that doesn't fit Kite. As expected, the debasement of Kite has put a serious flame under Gon's butt. We return to eyes as themes this episode. Kite's eyes have always been a primary linking point for the character, seeing them in all the forms we do, from shaded to pure white sparking out to the vacant animalistic remains, combined with the crunching of the teeth when Gon holds him. We get the sense that he's in there somewhere. Or we did until Gon stepped back and the puppet master was there, still holding on. Similarly, we had Gon's eyes flick between their soft brown to the emptiness that is a hallmark of emotional shutting down in anime, to the anger he showed as he was leaving and his own shaded self. We lost Gon's eyes this episode, which isn't something that happens often at all. The character of Gon is almost all eyes. They're huge, very similar to Kite's. They take up a lot of his face. We don't go into his mind, we see his mind through his eyes and facial expressions. The harshness and cold of the tones and the depth of color in the angry mask was very unlike Gon, and yet kind of what I expected. For the first time, we got to see the monster inside, not unlike Killua's monster assassin self. To a certain degree, I have to say that the ragey face sort of entertained me, maybe because I've seen a lot of angry toddlers in my time, and because of the youthfulness and softness about his face, he looked somewhat like an angry child. I guess because he is an angry child. It's more than that, though. It's like he's setting up to have a tantrum and the rage will flow out of him as he stamps around the room, destroying what he can get his hands on until he puffs out and needs to take a nap. Moral calling him out to check he was capable of fighting was an interesting continuation of that scene, and I'm glad he did it, though I think the point of the exercise was the wrong one. Gon still has to learn how to deal with the fact that his Jajunki takes a while to power up and is one hit. He's not, or hasn't proven himself as yet, to be One Punch Man, so he needs to be able to plan for things outside of that, and honestly, what Morel did frustrated me a little. We have a kid who failed to beat someone because of his inflexibility, and when called to prove his ability, displays that same inflexibility. It doesn't bode well, despite his resolve. Gon knows exactly who did this to Kite. He holds a grudge against exactly them, and he wants their blood. He will do whatever it takes to kill them, or he will die. But I doubt he'll be able to do anything further. The loathing wouldn't be the same. Being able to tap into extreme reserves doesn't mean he'll be able to do it consistently, and that's the problem, I guess, with being consistently inconsistent. Killua, now that he's out of his brother's needle brain control, is ready and able to fight to the full extent of his ability, something he hasn't done for a long time. Gon is the same Gon. Maybe stronger, yeah, sure. Maybe he's like plumbing the depths of his power, but the inconsistency is going to get in his way. Getting to spend some time inside Gon's mind shows just how quickly and instinctively he responds to physical stimulus. He's incredibly physically intelligent and aware, and the simplicity of the line drawing showed it to be like a dance. It flowed beautifully beautifully with poise and grace. The problem is that Kitty isn't going to wait, and if they do, Togashi's written the character wrong up to this point. There's nothing in that cat bug that suggests they'll do anything other than the smartest possible behavior and use their abilities with a combination of instinct and intelligence. Killua might be able to balance things out, to tap Gon on the shoulder when he needs to release his barbaric rage, but it will still, I imagine, be a close combat sequence. And I think it will be close for all of them. The way these characters have been set up, I'm not sure who we're rooting for, but if we're going with the traditional version of the protagonist, then we're rooting for the underdogs. I'd have been on the side of the ants, truth be told, if the king weren't such a p***ing. I think the only other thing that confuses me is why we don't have those like Hisky and Bisky on the scene, or any of the hunters we've seen before, but maybe they've decided it's not for them. It's just an odd choice not to bring back characters we know, to engage with those we know less, and to compare our kids with those they fought before to see maybe how they've improved, or how they've grown, or have others see how they've improved and grown. Maybe that's who Netero contacted. I guess we'll find out soon enough, but for now, that's it from me. If you enjoyed this episode and the random ramblings of me, click here, and here for similar things, and hit the subscribe button, and there's a bell, and have a great day, y'all, and I'll see you next time.